the reason why you are here after the response we got with Sean, and we're getting a little bit deeper in this topic. So now, let's go to the last part of what he said in the video, where he says, you know, this person's life, you know, that person's this person.
Right.
So obviously these are some names here. We'll go through them together. You obviously know who these are.
Right.
Nasser, you know, El Sonbaty, Matarasso, and then we have some other guys here we'll get to here in a minute. Okay. So, you know, when you look at this, what was the cause of death with
Matarasso? And like one of my best friends was best friends with him. So one of my best friends, Mel Chansey, was very, very good friends with him.
I've heard nothing but good things about him.
Matarasso?
Yeah.
Phenomenal guy. Like one of the greatest guys on the, you know, like phenomenal personality, like
fun.
Just a phenomenal guy, phenomenal guy. Realistically, I believe that he was like hereditary. Like I think that his father died at a relatively young age of heart issues. Like, can you say like, did the things that he did maybe escalate it? Possibly, like possibly. But I mean, I don't think that there was anything like. I think that there's no doubt like some of the choices he made, without a doubt, could have, you know, changed the process. But I think he died of cardiac arrest, if I'm not mistaken, and I think it was a hereditary issue.
El Sonbaty, because Sean put that on you.
Chad's got blood all over his hands, man. I mean, Ronnie Coleman will defend him to the 9th degree, but he was in that bathtub near death in 2001 at the direction of Chad Nichols, who's not a doctor, by the way. There's at least 5 deaths. Don Youngblood, Nasser El Sonbaty, Dallas McCarver, and a few other people that he's had his relationships with as a bodybuilding coach that are dead and in the ground, and he hadn't gone to one funeral. Don Long, no kidneys.
You hadn't gone to one funeral?
No, not one. These are people he worked with. Didn't go to funerals.
That went on there, right. So here's the thing with Nasser. So Nasser was probably one of my best friends within the industry. So me and him were together a lot. I talked to him probably more than any other bodybuilder ever that I'd worked with. So me and Nasser were very, very close. My relationship with Nasser was very unique because most of my guys I was 100% in control of, 100% in control. But Nasser was a little bit different. So if anybody that knew Nasser, he was a very, very intelligent man. Spoke 7 different languages. Like, he was a very smart human being. And so my role with him was literally more advisory, maybe, I guess you'd say, or friend, like, you know, whatever. And so, you know, literally the shows that I would work with him, I worked with him for, 97 Olympia, 98 Olympia, 99 Arnold. Okay, so those were the main shows that I worked with him in. And I didn't literally take over all of his stuff until the last week. So I would control definitely all of his, like, final prep stuff. But the rest of the stuff was, you know, at this point, you know, by the time he got there, like, he was big. Like, he was, like, I didn't need to be like, hey, listen, this is the way you need to train, or this is what you need to do. He would, you know, send me pictures and be like, how close am I? Like, that was where the things were. He would ask me like, hey, I'm thinking about adding this in. I'd be like, yeah, that's probably a good idea, or no, you don't need that yet, or those types of things. But there was never like, this is what you do. Right here, this is what you follow, da-da-da-da-da. Now, the thing with Nasser is, like, this is the thing that's interesting about Nasser. So again, like, he literally puts that one on me, right? So, but literally, I didn't train him after 99, and he died 14 years later. Like, I'm not really sure how, like, I'm not even sure how you even go down that road. Like, it's so idiotic. Like, I mean, like, he could have lived 20 more years, and then you're like, yeah, that was still him. Like, yeah.
Munster, obviously, you never did anything.
Munster, but it's interesting. I talked to Munster the year he died, and so he was a very unique individual. He was a super nice guy. He didn't speak really good English, so it was like
tough to speak.
It was tough to communicate with him. And we were talking about some stuff, and then we were talking about a certain thing that he was using. And then he mentioned another. It was a cortisol blocker that he was talking about, and then he mentioned another cortisol blocker. It was the weirdest conversation. I'll never forget it. And I'm like, I said, you realize those are the same thing? And he's like, no, they're different. And I'm like, no. I said, this is the American version. This is the European version. And
so he was double dipping.
Yeah, and so he was double dipping on those. Now, those are notorious for eating up like your stomach. They're really hard on the stomach, like even at a moderate to low dose. And he was doing a humongous dose of it. Now, I'm not saying that's what had anything to do with it, but the conversation that I had was very, like, so weird, because I remember going up to Kim and being like, man, these guys don't even know what they're doing. Like, they were talking about this and, like, the same thing. Like, what in the hell is going on? And then literally we get home from the Arnold that year, and then he had died on the plane, or at least like,
after your call.
Well, no, I just literally talked to him, and it was a very brief, like it was at the show, and we were talking about stuff, and
I mean,
like,
this physique makes no sense to him.
And he was actually commenting on Kim's physique. Like, he was like, being like, I've never seen a female's quads that lean, da da da. And we're like, you gotta be kidding me! Like, look at your quads.
Okay, let's just go to Dallas.
Dallas, for sure.
So obviously that's the controversial one. That's that you hear about what happened
for sure.
There. So
for sure,
there's the dialogue between Dallas and Sean when they go backstage. You know that whole thing. I've been throwing up for 3 years.
He was working with Dallas McCarver. When he started working with Dallas McCarver, I said Dallas has 6 months to live. He died 8 months later. So I have a reason to be pissed.
And what's your relationship with Dallas? Because that's the biggest one he puts on.
The biggest one, right? Yeah. So here's the thing with Dallas. So I worked with Dallas for 3 months. That was it. I only worked with him for one show. I met with him in November at Nationals, and I prepped him for the Arnold. I became very close with Dallas during that time. And, you know, Dallas was one of these guys that was just a likable, like, there's no way you couldn't like Dallas. Like, he was probably one of the most genuine, nicest people I had ever met in my life. He was super honest about everything. Like, there were so many things that, like, so I never literally second guessed him about anything, because the things he told me, like, I would have, like, never dreamed that he would have told me, honestly. Probably one of the toughest things for me is, like, when I think back through all the stuff, like, there was signs right from the get-go. Like, when we literally the very first week of the diet, so we literally kind of started like the beginning of December, and so we had talked at Nationals, which is the middle of November, and then we started in December. So I only literally worked with him for 3 months. He worked with another guy for 2 years before that, and then the guy 2 years before me he ended up working with when he died. But the very first week, like, he calls me, he's like, listen, I'm throwing up. And I'm like, well, that's not, I said, you feel okay? And he's like, yeah. He goes, you know, I do that a lot. He goes, I've done it all my life. I got like a weird stomach, but he's like, I didn't know whether I should like replace the meal or not. And so I'm thinking, like, wait a minute, like, what do you mean you did that your whole life? And he's like, well, I've thrown up my whole life. Like, I had a weird stomach. Like, I literally throw up. Like, I threw up before every football game. I've thrown up, like, before every contest. Like, every contest diet I've ever had, I threw up. So I'm like, I said, listen, like, let's just see how this plays out, because you may be sick. Like, you may have the stomach flu or something. So the week goes on, and he seems fine, and then Thursday throws up again. So I'm like, okay, listen, this ain't normal. Like, you don't just throw up. You're, like, literally 25 years old or something. I'm like, go to the, like, urgent care. Like,
this is a week, 2 weeks into your relationship after 90 days.
This is a week into the relationship, right? And so he comes back and he's like, yeah, they think that I may have bronchitis and the drainage is making me throw up. And I'm like, well, how do you feel? And he goes, I feel great. But he goes, listen, I get bronchitis all the time. He goes, I've had pneumonia 10 times in my life. And I'm like, what? I go, you've had pneumonia 10 times in your life. And he's like, yeah. He goes, I literally, like, always get it. And he kind of blamed it, and he was very open about this, so I have no problem talking, but he's like, yeah, I smoke weed from the time I was 12 years old. He goes, I probably smoke more weed than anybody. He goes, I kind of cough and I have drainage, and that's kind of what it kind of leads to. And I'm like, okay, I mean, it sounded...
Pneumonia from weed?
No, but he was saying he gets pneumonia, and I was trying to say the coughing. So the coughing and the drainage, and then he's like restricted breathing, and then he ends up with like bronchitis and then pneumonia. And so I'm kind of thinking like, I get the coughing, like the pneumonia thing sounds a little weird, like, I don't know. Let's see how you feel. I said, why don't you rest for a couple days, let's see how you feel. Weekend goes by, it feels fine. A couple weeks go by, he's back to throwing up again. And I'm like, dude, this is not normal. Like, you shouldn't be throwing up. And he's like, Chad, I'm telling you, I throw up all the time. Like, I've done it my entire life. And that's the one thing, thinking back, like, I'm like, like, where was that head? Like, how in the hell, like, where was that head, And so we go through the process. Like, through the whole process, I can tell, like, something's off. Like, his body's not really responding like I thought it would. It didn't, you know, and like, I don't know if people even believe this, but like based off of what he had been doing, we literally did half of that, what he had been doing. So a lot of this stuff, so
You're saying you're doing half of what he was doing?
Half of what he was doing. So my thinking was like, holy shit, like maybe like his body's not responding well. Like maybe it's not because we pulled back so far, right? But then all of a sudden his body kind of started to come around, and you know, and then he actually kind of started feeling better. Everything kind of seems like right on target. We go and we're literally planning on going into Pittsburgh to meet with Mannion, let him look at him, take a look at him, posing. Just we're sitting there, and he starts throwing up again, like with the stuff. And so I'm like, okay, like dude, like how, like this is not normal. You shouldn't be vomiting all the time. And he's like, Chad, listen, like this is just my life. Like this is what I do. Like I vomit, I have a weak stomach. Like this goes all the way back to football. Like it goes all the way back to football. And so I'm like, okay, so we go through the process. Through this whole process, I can tell like something's clearly off. His body didn't respond well. Like nothing's really responding well. So we start talking about like just personal things, like, you know, and so he had moved away from his hometown. He went to Boca to be part of the company that he was with and everything. And so we literally, and this is after the Arnold. So he ends up second. He, you know, he goes to New Zealand, which I literally didn't even want him to go to because I thought he was sick at the Arnold. I literally said, listen, don't go, but he had already like signed contracts. Like he was already committed. He's like, I have to go. I have already signed a contract. And I'm like, listen, just go to the doctor and, you know, get it. He's like, nah, I'm going to go. So we go there, and then of course he's super sick in Australia, almost passes out on stage. Like we literally, like literally 2 hours before that, we were literally talking on the phone. And I'm like, don't do the show. Like I don't want you to do the show. And he's like, I'm gonna take a nap and we'll see how I feel. 2 hours later, he calls me back. Man, I feel phenomenal. I feel great, you know. And I'm like, are you sure? And he's like, I feel phenomenal. Like I just needed a nap. I think it was a flight, wore me out. Then of course he goes on stage, damn near passes out. So then he, you know, he comes back home. And so through this whole process, I'm like, listen, something's off. Like, I think that you're unhappy. Like, listen, I think you left your home. I think you moved to Boca. You don't know people there. You're staying in an apartment by yourself. Like you're doing all of this stuff that's like not making you happy. I'm like, you need to get out of there. Get completely out of there. Go back home. And at the time, he didn't have a good relationship with his family, but he was trying to mend that. We don't even need to work together. I said, go back home. And his coach was in his hometown. I go back with him. I said, because I think that friendship stabilized you. Like, I think it stabilized you. I think you were happier within that environment. I think a lot of your friends and gym people were there. He was like, you know, like, I think that's what I'm going to do. And it was literally right after that they started posting up pictures, and I could tell instantly something was wrong, like instantly. And then I became like in this like tug of war with myself, like, okay, do I call up him and say, dude, what the hell are you guys doing? Like something looks off here. And then the last picture he posted, I'll never forget this, Dan Solomon called me and he's like, have you seen the picture of Dallas? And I'm like, I have. I said, he doesn't look good. And I said, he literally looks like he's getting ready to drop dead.